Welcome to part 4 of our series of the mystery of the Father and of the Son. And I was talking about the tempter coming to Yahusha and asking him to make the Abanayam, right, to speak the Dabar, right, Dabar Abanayam to Lakham. Alright, so Yahusha was hungry after having fasted 40 days, and the tempter came to tempt him to make the Aban into Lakham. So the spiritual into the carnal. And I was talking about the shewbread, alright, the Panayam Lakham, alright, which was continuously placed before Yahuwah in Moses' tabernacle, alright, because that was literal, which pointed to the spiritual, because the spiritual is Mashiach himself, the heavenly man, alright, who came down from heaven, the living bread, the Ke Lakham, alright. He said, I am the bread who came down from heaven. So the word pan, which means face, also has a mouth, alright, and Yahusha was the Dabar made flesh, in whom the fullness of the divinity dwelt. Colossians chapter 1 verses 19 and Colossians chapter 2 verses 9 says, it pleased the Father to dwell in him bodily, in his fullness, alright, and from whose mouth came the living oracles of Elohim. So being the Son, he submitted himself completely to the Ab, from where he came forth. So he was completely externalized from the Father when he became flesh, until he was glorified to be one with the Father, and the Father gave him that glory. That's why the Unitarians and the Trinitarians, alright, they never understand this mystery and don't understand the submission. So if you see, the word for bread is Lakham, alright, and the opposite of Lakham is the word I have listed here as Makhal. Alright, Makhala means cave, alright, Makhal or Makhala means cave, okay, and Makhal is also a root word in Makhalai, which means piercing, and Khal is the root word which means pain or hole, making a hole, okay. So it all points to Mashiach, because he bore the piercing, okay. He was pierced. They shall look upon him whom we have pierced, okay. There were holes made through the nail. He was pierced, the wounds that we gave him. So it all talks about Mashiach, because he is the bread of life, okay, and he came in the flesh to die for our wrong measures. So the physical bread, Panayam, means face, alright. It has something that has a face to be revealed, which Masa's tabernacle stood as a type or shadow, with Mashiach hidden in the Panayam, which is the face, Lakham, bread, alright, the shoe bread. The temptation of making the Abanayam, which is the stones, to Lakham, was a physical, satisfying the physical hunger. Now it's not strange, because if you see in the wilderness, alright, Yahuwah fed them manna from heaven, alright, but they despised the manna, they loathed the manna, right, and what did they do? They lusted for Egypt. They lusted for the onions and garlic in Egypt. They lusted for meat, and Yahuwah had to send them fiery serpents to bite them, to destroy them, because they were carnal, completely fleshly, looking at fleshly things. And the law was given to them so that all those of the flesh would stumble and fall. And only those who would understand and see the Spirit in the letter, who would understand the Torah of life, would enter into the promised land. The promised land we are talking about is New Jerusalem, alright, and there is no doubt in our mind. If you see Yahuwah's pattern of judgment, alright, it's really amazing. If you see that out of the entire generation whom Yahuwah brought out of the land of Mitzrayim into the land of Canaan, only two people entered of that generation, and that was Yahushua, that is the son of Nun, whom we call as Joshua, and Caleb, alright, and it went ill with Moses because of the people. Even he was not allowed to enter into the promised land. Such severe judgment. Not that Moses will not go into New Jerusalem, but that's the pattern. Just two people, rest everyone died in the wilderness journey. So how narrow it could be. Another pattern, Noah. Did Yahusha say that as in the days of Noah, so it shall be in the days of the Son of Man? What is the pattern? Only 8 people were saved in an entire world. Just 8 people in that ark. Sodom and Gomorrah, as in the days of Lot, so it shall be in the days of the Son of Man. How many were saved? Lot and his 2 daughters, just 3 people. His wife had an opportunity, but she too became a pillar of salt. So the pattern is very clear, and it is written in the book of Kepha that Kepha says that this is the pattern. You know what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, Yahuwah will destroy the ungodly in the last days as well, those who live ungodly. Okay, and also it talks about the judgment, the various judgments you will see. Alright, very few people made it to the promised land. Okay, let's move on. I can go on and on about the pattern of judgment, but that's way out of topic. So let's get back to the topic, which talks about the grave. Now let's see what is the word for grave. If you see Matthew chapter 27 verses 60, it says, "And laid it in his own new grave, which he had hewn out of the rock, and he rolled a large stone against the opening of the grave, and went away." Now the word for grave is kabar, alright, which is H1430. H1430. Let's grab another one. H1430 is kabar. Right? Can you see the bar here? What means bar? Bar is the sun. Bar is the sun. And the word kab, alright? What does the word kab mean? Pierce. This word kab, I should say kub, alright? Kub means pierce. So, who was pierced? The sun, kabar. And you know the kuf, the alphabet kuf, is the sun on the horizon, alright, which means hope. So, the grave is in hope of the bar. The grave is in hope of the bar, who is the sun. Such amazing language, such amazing emanations from these words. And if you see, it says that he was placed in the grave, which was hewn out of rock, and a large stone, the word for stone again there is aban, was rolled against the opening. The word opening there is patak. Remember I told you about patak? Alright, which means opening of the grave, kabar, and they went away. So they rolled a huge stone against the opening of the kabar. Alright, and we saw the word kabar, the piercing of the sun. The death pangs couldn't hold him. The stone had to be rolled away. And he rose from the dead. Alright? Now, the sun was pierced and he triumphed over the grave. So Kuf is the pictograph, like I said, of the sun on the horizon and stands for hope. The grave is in the hope of the bar, which is the sun. So they rolled an aban, which is the stone, over the kabar. Now let me speak something very, very interesting, and let's continue in part 5.